The poor girl was given to a rich man out of her parents' contempt, but he valued her. Emily felt tears burning her eyes as she watched her parents signing those papers in the elegant office. Her hands trembled as she held the small suitcase with her only belongings, while her father's words echoed in her mind like knife wounds. "There, it's done," said Richard, pushing the documents toward the man across the table. "Now our debt is settled. The girl is your responsibility." Gregory Parker observed everything in silence, his fingers lightly drumming on the polished wood of the desk. His dark eyes showed no satisfaction, only a deep sadness Emily couldn't comprehend. "Mr. Gregory," murmured Catherine, Emily's mother, avoiding her daughter's gaze. "She sews well, cooks decently, and cleans. She won't be any trouble." "Mother," Emily whispered, but the woman turned her face away. "Don't call me that," Catherine replied coldly. "From today on, you're no longer our daughter. You're his property." The words cut deep into the young woman's heart. 20 years of life, and her own parents treated her like an object to be bargained away. All because of her father's gambling debts, which had cost them even the small house they lived in on the outskirts of New York City. Gregory slowly stood, adjusting the jacket of his impeccable suit. He was a tall man with an elegant bearing, his dark hair slightly graying at the temples. His hands were well cared for, unlike the calloused hands Emily knew from her neighborhood. "The meeting is over," he said firmly, but without aggression. "You may leave." Richard and Catherine hurried out without even a parting glance at their daughter. Emily was left alone in the office with this strange man, feeling more lost than ever. "Are you afraid of me?" Gregory asked, noticing how she instinctively recoiled. "I don't know," Emily answered honestly. "I don't know what you expect from me." He walked to the large window overlooking the estate's gardens. The mansion stood in an upscale neighborhood on the Upper East Side, surrounded by high walls and lush greenery that contrasted sharply with the slum where Emily had grown up. "I hope you'll be happy here," he said, completely surprising her. "I know this wasn't your choice, but I'll try to make your stay as comfortable as possible." Emily blinked several times, confused by this unexpected kindness. She had imagined a cruel man who would treat her like a slave. Instead, she found someone who spoke with respect. "Mrs. Anderson will show you to your quarters and explain your duties," Gregory continued. "You'll work as a seamstress here in the house. I have some projects that could use your skills." At that moment, a woman in her 60s entered the office. She wore an elegant dark dress and a pearl necklace that accentuated her dignified posture. Her gray hair was pinned in a perfect bun, and her blue eyes scrutinized Emily from head to toe. "This is Mrs. Anderson," Gregory introduced. "She's managed the house for over 20 years. If you have any questions, go to her." "Come with me, girl," Mrs. Anderson said in an authoritative but not unkind voice. "I'll show you where you'll stay." Emily followed the woman through the mansion's hallways, awed by the elegance surrounding her. The floors were polished marble, the walls adorned with expensive paintings, and crystal chandeliers hung from the high ceilings. It was a world completely different from the wooden shack where she had spent her entire life. "This is your room," Mrs. Anderson said, opening a door on the second floor. "It has its own bathroom and a small sitting area where you can do your sewing." Emily stepped inside and barely suppressed a gasp of wonder. The room was larger than her entire old home. A double bed with a soft mattress took center stage, flanked by a solid wood wardrobe and a comfortable armchair near the window. "Is all this really mine?" she asked, still in disbelief. "Yes, it is," confirmed Mrs. Anderson, watching the young woman's reaction. "Mr. Gregory was very clear about this. You're not just any employee. You're his personal seamstress. I don't understand the difference." "The difference is you have freedom here. You can come and go as you please, receive a monthly salary, and be treated with respect. The only rule is you can't leave the property entirely without notice." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us newcomers a lot. Now, back to the story. Emily sat on the bed, trying to process everything. None of it made sense. Why would a wealthy man pay off her parents' debts and treat her so well? Mrs. Anderson, she said hesitantly, may I ask you something? Of course. Why did he do this? Why bring me here? Mrs. Anderson's expression shifted subtly. A veil of sadness flickered in her eyes before she regained her composure. That's something you'll have to discover in time, dear. For now, rest. Tomorrow we begin work. After the housekeeper left, Emily lay on the soft bed and closed her eyes. The tears finally came, releasing all the pain of her parents' rejection and her fear of the unknown. She cried until she fell asleep, emotionally drained. The next morning, a gentle knock at the door woke her. A young maid entered, carrying a breakfast tray. "Good morning, Miss Emily," the girl said with a smile. "I'm Chloe. I brought your breakfast." "Thank you, but you don't need to call me Miss," Emily replied, embarrassed. "I'm just like you." Chloe chuckled softly. "Mrs. Anderson said you'd say that." "But Mr. Gregory was very clear. You're to be treated with the utmost respect." After breakfast, Emily went downstairs to explore the house. The mansion was even more impressive in daylight. There was a grand hall with a grand piano, a library filled with books, a spacious modern kitchen, and several rooms that seemed barely used. "Impressive, isn't it?" said a voice behind her. Emily turned to see Gregory standing at the entrance to the hall. He wore more casual clothes, a white dress shirt and dark trousers, but still carried an air of natural elegance. "It's very beautiful," she admitted. "It must be lonely living here alone." "It is," he agreed, a shadow crossing his face. "That's why I'm glad for the company." They strolled together through the gardens, where Emily noticed well-tended rose bushes and a small vegetable patch. The gardener, an elderly man with white hair named Jack, greeted her warmly. "Mr. Jack has taken care of all this for 15 years, Gregory explained. "He's practically family." "Family," Emily murmured. "Do you have any?" Gregory stopped walking, silent for a few seconds. "I did," he finally replied, "but that's a story for another day." That afternoon, Mrs. Anderson showed Emily the sewing studio that had been prepared for her. It was a well-lit room on the ground floor, equipped with a modern sewing machine and all the necessary materials neatly arranged on shelves. "Your first task," the housekeeper said, handing her several pieces of men's clothing. "Mr. Gregory needs these altered." Emily examined the garments. They were expensive suits made of fine fabric, but with minor sizing flaws. She had learned to sew from a neighbor as a child, and though she had no formal training, she had a natural talent for the craft. As she worked, her skilled hands made the needles dance across the fabric. It was the only time she felt truly at peace, when she could forget her troubles and focus on the precision of each stitch. "You truly have a gift," said Gregory, appearing at the studio door. Emily blushed slightly. "I learned out of necessity. My mother," she paused, remembering Catherine had renounced the title of mother. "The woman who raised me never cared for handiwork." "And your father?" "He only cared for cards and dice," she replied bitterly. "That's why I'm here." Gregory stepped into the studio and sat in a nearby chair. "Do you hate them?" The question caught Emily off guard. She stopped sewing and thought for a moment. "I don't know if I hate them," she said honestly. "I'm hurt, confused. I don't understand how they could discard me so easily." "Sometimes people do terrible things when they're desperate," Gregory mused. "It doesn't justify it, but it explains it." "You speak as if you know from experience." "Perhaps I do." They sat in silence for a few minutes, only the hum of the sewing machine filling the space. Emily sensed there was much more behind this man's kindness, but didn't dare ask directly. In the days that followed, a routine settled in. Emily worked in the studio in the mornings, had lunch with Mrs. Anderson and the other staff, and spent afternoons reading in the library or chatting with Jack in the garden. Gregory appeared sporadically, always polite and attentive, but keeping a certain distance. It was during Friday dinner that everything changed. Gregory, who usually ate alone in his office, walked into the kitchen where Emily was dining with the staff. "I'd like you to join me for dinner tonight," he said, "in the dining room." Everyone in the kitchen fell silent. Chloe's eyes widened, and even Mrs. Anderson looked surprised. "I don't know if that's proper," Emily stammered. "It's my house," Gregory replied firmly. "I decide what's proper or not." Nervously, Emily rose and followed him to the elegant dining room. The mahogany table could seat 12, but was set for only 2. Lit candles created an intimate atmosphere that made Emily even more uneasy. "Why are you doing this?" she asked as she sat in the chair he pulled out for her. "Doing what?" "Treating me like a guest when I'm practically your property." Gregory poured wine into 2 glasses before answering. "You're no one's property, Emily. You're an intelligent, talented young woman who deserves respect." "My parents didn't think so." "Your parents were wrong." Over dinner, they talked about many things. Emily learned Gregory had a degree in business administration, had inherited his father's business, and had a passion for classic literature. In turn, she shared her dream of one day owning her own sewing shop. "Why not open a shop here?" he suggested. "I could finance the project." "I can't accept any more favors from you," Emily replied. "You must already regret bringing me here." "On the contrary, this house hasn't had life in it for a long time." "Life? Laughter, conversation, someone humming in the halls. You brought that here." Emily's heart raced. There was something in his tone, in the way he looked at her, that made her feel special, but it also frightened her. How could she trust her feelings when her whole situation was so confusing? After dinner, Gregory walked her to the library. "Take any book you'd like," he said. "Consider yourself at home." "This isn't my home," Emily murmured. "I don't quite know what it is." "It's whatever you want it to be." They stopped before a shelf filled with classic literature. Emily ran her fingers over the spines, dreaming of having time to read them all. "Ernest Hemingway," Gregory said, noticing her interest. "Have you read him?" "Never had the chance. Books were a luxury we couldn't afford." "Then start with The Old Man and the Sea," he suggested, pulling the volume from the shelf. "It's a story about love, jealousy, and uncertainty. I think you'll relate." When their hands brushed as she took the book, Emily felt an electric current run up her arm. Gregory seemed to feel it too because he quickly pulled his hand away. "Good night, Emily," he said, hurrying out of the library. She stood alone, holding the book and trying to understand what had just happened. There was something growing between them, something that both frightened and excited her at the same time. The next morning, Chloe came to Emily's room with a worried expression. "I need to tell you something," the maid said in a hushed voice. "It's about last night." "What is it?" "The other maids are talking. They say Mr. Gregory hasn't dined with anyone since..." She hesitated. "Since when?" "Since his daughter disappeared." Emily's heart turned to ice. "Daughter? What daughter?" "He had an adopted daughter, a young woman about your age. 2 years ago she just vanished. No one knows what happened." "Why are you telling me this?" Chloe glanced around to make sure they were alone. "Because you look just like her. Exactly like her. The other maids think he brought you here because of the resemblance." The Ernest Hemingway book slipped from Emily's hands. Everything was starting to make sense. The unexplained kindness, the luxurious room, the sad glances. Gregory didn't see her for who she was, but as a replacement for someone he'd lost. "Where can I find pictures of her?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. "There are some in his office, but it's risky. I need to see." That afternoon, while Gregory was away at business meetings in the city, Emily slipped into his office. It was a masculine space, with leather furniture and a large desk. The walls were decorated with diplomas and business-related photos. But it was on a small side shelf that she found what she was looking for. 3 framed pictures of a young brunette woman with dark eyes and a sweet smile. The resemblance was unsettling. She could have been Emily's sister, or even herself in another life. "Hannah," she read the name engraved on one of the frames. "You shouldn't be here," a voice said behind her. Emily turned quickly and saw Mrs. Anderson standing in the doorway, her expression stern. I'm sorry," Emily stammered. "I just wanted to understand why he brought you here," the housekeeper finished, stepping inside and closing the door. "So it's true? He brought me here because I look like her?" Mrs. Anderson sighed deeply and sat in an armchair. Hannah came here when she was 16. She was poor too, rejected by her family. Mr. Gregory took her in, educated her, treated her like his own daughter. What happened to her? One day she just disappeared, left only a note saying she needed to find her own path. But Gregory was devastated. He hired detectives, searched everywhere, but never found her. Emily felt sick. She was just a stand-in, a way for Gregory to ease the pain of his loss. He brought me here thinking I was her. No, Mrs. Anderson said firmly. He knows perfectly well you're not Hannah, but when your parents showed up offering you as payment for their debt, he saw a chance to save another young woman from family rejection. So it's pity. At first, maybe. But watching the two of you together, I can say it's grown into something much deeper. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. Emily left the office more confused than ever. She didn't know whether to feel offended for being a replacement or grateful for being saved from a terrible situation. Her emotions were in conflict, especially because she couldn't deny that she was also developing feelings for Gregory. That night, she couldn't sleep. She stood by the bedroom window, watching the gardens illuminated by the full moon, when she saw a figure walking alone among the rose bushes. It was Gregory. Impulsively, Emily went downstairs to meet him. "Can't sleep either?" she asked as she approached. He turned, surprised by her presence. "I usually walk in the garden when I'm troubled," he replied. "It's my way of finding peace. May I walk with you?" They followed the stone path between the flowers, silent at first. The scent of roses mixed with the cool night air, creating an almost magical atmosphere. "I know about Hannah," Emily finally said. Gregory stopped walking. "Who told you?" "Mrs. Anderson. I went to your office and saw the photos." "I see. She told me you brought me here because I was also rejected by my family." "That's true. But that's not all, is it?" Emily pressed. "The resemblance also influenced your decision." Gregory sat on a garden bench and motioned for her to join him. "When I first saw you, I admit the resemblance caught my attention," he confessed. "But that's not why I decided to help you." "Then why?" "Because I saw in your eyes the same determination Hannah had, the same strength to overcome adversity, and because I recognized in your parents the same coldness Hannah's family showed." "Do you see me as her?" "At first, perhaps I tried, but I quickly realized you're completely different people. Hannah was impulsive, restless, always questioning everything. You're more thoughtful, careful, but just as strong." Emily felt relieved not to be just a replacement, but there were still unresolved questions. "Then what do you feel for me?" she asked boldly. Gregory was silent for a long moment, as if weighing his words carefully. "I feel like you've brought life back to this house, and to me," he finally answered. "I can't define exactly what it is, but I know I don't want you to leave." "What if I wanted to go?" "I'd respect your decision. You're free, Emily. You always have been. Then why am I still here?" "Only you can answer that." Emily looked up at the stars, searching for clarity in her own feelings. The truth was, she felt safe here, valued in a way she'd never experienced before, but she was also afraid of deceiving herself, of misinterpreting Gregory's kindness. "I'm afraid," she admitted. "Of what?" "That this is all a dream, that one day you'll wake up and realize you made a mistake bringing me here." Gregory turned to her, his eyes shining in the moonlight. "The only mistake I made was waiting so long to have this conversation with you," he said softly. "Emily, you're not a mistake. You're the best thing that's happened to me in a long time." Before she could respond, he stood and offered his hand. "Come, it's getting cold. Let's go inside." They walked back to the house, their hands entwined. Emily's heart raced, knowing something had changed between them that night. The next day, the routine felt different. Gregory spent more time at home, often stopping by the studio to talk while Emily worked. He helped her reorganize her sewing supplies and even suggested new projects. "What about creating a clothing line for women in the community?" he proposed. "We could start a small sewing cooperative." "That would be wonderful," Emily replied, excited. "But where would we get the resources?" "Leave that to me. I have some contacts who'd be interested in a social project like this. It was the first time Emily had heard Gregory talk about social projects. She was discovering new facets of his personality, aspects that made her admire him even more. During lunch, Mrs. Anderson announced she would need to travel to care for a sick sister in Pennsylvania. "I'll be gone for 2 weeks," she said. "Emily, could you take over supervising the house temporarily?" "Me?" Emily nearly choked. "I don't have experience with that." "Nonsense," Gregory interjected. "You're organized and everyone here already respects you. You'll be perfect." "But what if something goes wrong?" "Then we'll learn how to fix it together," he replied with an encouraging smile. After Mrs. Anderson's departure, Emily found herself responsible for coordinating household activities. It was challenging, but also rewarding. She rearranged some schedules, implemented a more efficient communication system among the staff, and even suggested menu improvements. "You have a natural talent for administration," Gregory remarked during dinner. "Have you ever thought about studying?" "Studying?" Emily laughed bitterly. "I barely finished high school. I can't afford college." "Who says you can't? I can cover your tuition." "I can't accept that. You've already given me so much. Why can't you accept it out of pride?" "Because I don't know how to repay you." Gregory leaned across the table, his eyes fixed on hers. "You already repay me just by being here. You've turned this house into a home again." Emily felt her face flush. The intensity of his gaze made her both nervous and moved. "Gregory," she began, but the ringing phone cut her off. He answered with an annoyed expression at the interruption. "Hello?" His expression changed dramatically. "What? When? I'm on my way now." He hung up and stood quickly. "I need to go to the hospital," he said tensely. "Jack had a heart attack." "I'll come with you," Emily offered immediately. "It's not necessary. I want to," she insisted. "Jack is special to me too." At the hospital, they spent hours waiting for news. Jack was stable, but would need surgery. Emily watched as Gregory genuinely worried about the gardener, treating him like family. "He's worked here for 15 years, Gregory explained as they waited. "He's like a father to me. My own father passed when I was young, and Jack was always there during the hard times." "He'll be okay," Emily comforted, placing her hand over his. "How can you be so sure?" "Because good people like him are strong, and because he has you to take care of him." Gregory squeezed her hand, finding comfort in the touch. "Thank you for being here with me," he whispered. "There's nowhere else I'd rather be." The surgery was successful, but Jack would need a long recovery. Gregory insisted on hiring private nurses and adapting a room in the house so the gardener could recover in a familiar environment. "It's too much unnecessary expense," Jack protested when he heard the plans. "Your family," Gregory replied simply, "and family takes care of family." Emily was moved by his actions. She saw how Gregory truly cared for those around him, treating staff like family and showing a generosity that went beyond money. During Jack's recovery, Emily visited him daily. They talked about gardening, about life, and the older man always praised Gregory. "I've never seen him as happy as he is now," Jack commented one afternoon. "Since you arrived, he's started smiling for real again." "What was he like before?" Emily asked curiously. "Very lonely, worked too much, hardly left the house. After Hannah left, he became even more closed off. I think he was afraid of getting attached again. And now he's in love," Jack said with a knowing smile. "Even if you don't have the courage to admit it yet." Emily felt her heart race. "Do you really think so?" "I'm certain. I've known this man for years. The way he looks at you, how he cares for your well-being, how happy he is when you're around. It's love, my dear." That night, Emily couldn't get Jack's words out of her head. Could it really be true that Gregory was in love with her? And what exactly did she feel? She decided she needed fresh air to think. She went down to the garden and found Gregory on the same bench where they had talked weeks before. "Couldn't sleep either?" she asked, sitting beside him. "I was thinking about a lot of things," he replied. "Jack is doing better. The doctor said in another 2 weeks he can return to light activities." "That's great. I miss his talks about the plants." They sat in silence, watching the starry sky. Emily gathered the courage to ask the question that had been tormenting her. "Gregory, can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." "Have you ever fallen in love after Hannah?" He tensed, clearly not expecting that question. "Why do you want to know?" "Curiosity. Jack said you closed yourself off after she left." "Jack talks too much sometimes," Gregory murmured, though without irritation. "So, have you fallen in love?" Gregory turned to look at her, his eyes shining in the darkness. "I'm falling in love right now," he finally admitted. Emily's heart leaped. "With whom?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "You really don't know?" He smiled softly. "With a brave young woman who changed my life, who brought joy to this house, who makes me want to be a better person." "Gregory." "I love you, Emily," he said, taking her hands. "I know our situation is complicated. I know it might seem strange given how we met, but what I feel for you is real." Tears streamed down Emily's face. "I love you too," she whispered. "I've wanted to say it for weeks, but I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" "That I was dreaming, that you couldn't feel the same for someone like me." Gregory cupped her face in his hands. "You're the most special woman I've ever known. Your background doesn't matter, your past doesn't matter. What matters is who you are, and you are wonderful." They kissed under the moonlight, finally sealing the feelings that had been growing for so long. It was a kiss full of tenderness, promises, and hope for a future together. When they pulled apart, Emily rested her forehead against his. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we build our story together," Gregory replied. "If you want to, of course." "I do," she said without hesitation, "more than anything." They walked back to the house hand in hand, knowing their lives had changed forever that night. What had started as a cold transaction had turned into the truest love either of them had ever known. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. The next morning, everyone in the house noticed the change. Gregory and Emily radiated happiness, and even the staff whispered among themselves about the new sparkle in their eyes. "Finally," Chloe murmured to another maid. "It was about time Mr. Gregory found someone special." Mrs. Anderson returned from her trip a week later and immediately sensed the shift in the atmosphere. "May I ask what happened here?" she said to Emily, noticing how radiant the young woman looked. "We confessed our feelings," Emily replied shyly. "Gregory told me he loves me. And you?" "I love him too. Very much." Mrs. Anderson smiled in satisfaction. "It was obvious to anyone with eyes. The two of you have been dancing around your feelings for weeks. You approve?" "Completely. Gregory deserves to be happy, and you are exactly what he needed." In the following days, Gregory and Emily's relationship blossomed. They spent hours talking, discovering shared interests, and dreaming about the future. Gregory began teaching Emily about business administration, and she showed a remarkable natural aptitude. "You really should go to college," he insisted during one of their impromptu lessons. "You have the potential to be an excellent executive." "I'm still not used to the idea," Emily admitted. "A few months ago, my biggest worry was putting food on the table. Now you're talking about college, a career. Circumstances have changed. You've changed. Don't limit yourself by who you were in the past." Gregory also turned out to be different from what Emily had initially imagined. Beyond his business success, he was secretly involved in several social projects, helping underprivileged families and funding scholarships for talented young people. "Why don't you publicize this?" Emily asked when she discovered his philanthropic activities. "Because I help, because I believe it's the right thing to do, not for recognition," he replied. "Some things are more valuable when done quietly." Emily's admiration for him grew even more. She saw that Gregory was genuinely good, not just kind to her, but committed to making a difference in other people's lives. It was during one of these discoveries that something unexpected happened. Emily was organizing some documents in the office when she found a folder labeled "Hannah, Private Investigation." Curious, she opened it and found detailed detective reports, photos of possible sightings, and letters Hannah had sent before disappearing. One letter caught her attention. "Gregory, I know you worry about me like a father, but I need to find my own path. I'm 24 and still feel like a child in your home. I need to prove to myself that I can live independently. Please don't look for me. When I'm ready, I'll come back. I love you like the father I never had. Hannah." Emily's heart ached. Hannah hadn't run away because she was unhappy. She wanted to grow, to mature away from Gregory's protection. And according to the reports, she seemed fine, working as a teacher in a small rural town. "Find something interesting?" Gregory asked, appearing at the door. Emily showed him the letter, unsure how he would react. "Did you know about this?" she asked. Gregory took the letter and read it again, a melancholic expression on his face. "I did. It was the last thing she told me before she left." "And yet, you still looked for her?" "At first, yes. I was desperate, afraid something bad had happened, but then I understood she needed this freedom. The reports show she's doing well. I know, I get sporadic updates, just to be sure she's safe, but I've respected her wish not to be contacted." Emily was moved by Gregory's maturity and the genuine love he showed for Hannah. "You really love her like a daughter," she observed. "I do, and I always will, just as I love you in a completely different way." "You're not jealous of her? Why would I be?" Gregory seemed genuinely surprised. "There's no competition between you. Hannah is my adoptive daughter. You're the woman I love. They're completely different roles in my life." Emily felt a wave of relief. She'd held onto a small insecurity about Hannah, but now realized it was unfounded. "What if she comes back one day? I'll be happy. She'll always have a place in this home, but it won't change anything between us." That night, they had the deepest conversation of their relationship. They talked about the future, children, and shared dreams. Gregory suggested Emily start studying business administration the following semester, and she finally agreed. "I want you to be my partner in everything," he said. "In business, in life, in dreams. Even though I come from where I do. Especially because you come from where you do. You understand the reality I want to help transform." A few weeks later, when Jack was almost fully recovered, news arrived that would change everything again. Mrs. Anderson received a call and rushed to find Gregory and Emily. "It was from the detective," she said breathlessly. "Hannah is coming back. She'll arrive tomorrow." Gregory froze for a moment, then burst with joy. "She's coming back. After 2 years, my daughter is coming back." Emily felt a mix of happiness for Gregory and nervousness about how the reunion would go. What if Hannah didn't approve of their relationship? What if her presence changed the household's dynamic? "Are you worried?" Gregory asked, noticing her expression. "A little," she admitted. "What if she doesn't like me?" "Impossible. You're wonderful, and Hannah has always been fair and kind." The next day, the entire house was in a flurry. Everyone eagerly awaited Hannah's arrival. Emily had spent the whole morning nervous, changing outfits several times, unsure how to present herself. "Just be yourself," Mrs. Anderson advised. "Hannah has always valued authenticity." When the car stopped at the mansion's entrance, Gregory ran out to meet Hannah. Emily watched from the living room window, witnessing the emotional reunion between father and adopted daughter. Hannah had changed. She looked more mature, more confident, with shorter hair and simple yet elegant clothes. She hugged Gregory tightly, and Emily could see tears of joy on his face. "Where is she?" Emily heard Hannah ask. "Who?" "The woman Jack wrote to me about. Emily." Gregory laughed. "Jack wrote to you?" "Several times. He said you were in love and that I needed to meet her." They entered the house, and Gregory called Emily over. "Hannah, this is Emily," he introduced them. "Emily, my daughter Hannah." The two women studied each other for a moment. Then Hannah smiled warmly. "Jack was right," she said. "You really made my father smile again." "He talks about you a lot," Emily replied, relaxing slightly. "I was really happy you were coming back. And I'm happy he found someone special." I was worried he'd be alone forever. That night's dinner was a celebration. Hannah shared stories about her experiences as a teacher, the children she taught, and how she had grown during those 2 years away. I needed to prove to myself that I could live independently, she explained. Not because I didn't feel loved here, but because I needed that self-confidence. And did you? Gregory asked. I did. Now I know I'm capable of anything. But I also learned that independence doesn't mean isolation. I missed home. This will always be your home, Gregory assured her. I know, but I also know things have changed, and I'm happy about that. Hannah looked affectionately at Emily. Jack told me your story. How you got here, how you won this stubborn man's heart. I admire your courage. I didn't do anything special, Emily protested. Yes, you did. You had the courage to accept a new life, to open yourself to love despite being hurt. That's very special. In the following days, Hannah settled back into the house easily. She and Emily quickly became friends, discovering they had much in common despite their different backgrounds. Can I confess something? Hannah said to Emily as they walked in the garden. Of course. When I heard there was a woman here who looked like me, I was jealous. Jealous? Yes. I thought Gregory was trying to replace me, but after meeting you, I realized that's not it at all. What do you mean? You complement each other in a way he and I never did. He and I are father and daughter. You two are soulmates. Emily felt tears in her eyes. Thank you for saying that. I was afraid my presence might bother you. On the contrary, I'm relieved. I've always worried about his loneliness. Now I know he'll have companionship for the rest of his life. A few weeks later, Hannah announced she was returning to her hometown in the countryside. You're not staying? Asked Gregory, clearly saddened. Not permanently. My life is there now. But I'll visit regularly, and I want to be there for the wedding, she winked at Emily. Wedding? Emily blushed. No one mentioned a wedding. Not yet, Hannah laughed, but Jack bet me there'd be a proposal before the end of the year. Gregory laughed too, but Emily noticed a special gleam in his eyes. The night before Hannah's departure, the three had a long conversation in the library. I want you both to know I fully support your relationship, Hannah said solemnly. Gregory, you deserve to be happy, and Emily, you're perfect for him. Thank you, Emily murmured, moved. And when you have children, I want to be their aunt, Hannah added playfully. Hannah, Gregory protested, but he was laughing. What, it's a legitimate wish. This house needs children running through the halls. After Hannah left, life returned to its peaceful rhythm. Emily began her business administration classes and excelled quickly. Gregory was proud of her progress and often consulted her on business decisions. You have a unique perspective, he said. You see solutions experienced executives miss. During summer vacation, they took their first trip together. They went to a coastal town in the Florida Keys, where they spent 2 weeks alternating between the beach and planning their future. I want to expand the social projects, Gregory said as they walked along the sand. Create a foundation that offers opportunities for young people like you once were. That's a wonderful idea, Emily agreed. We could include vocational courses, scholarships, entrepreneurial mentoring. He smiled. I like the sound of that. If you'll have me as your partner, of course. Gregory stopped walking and turned to her. Emily, there's something I've wanted to ask you for months, but I was waiting for the right moment. Emily's heart raced. What is it? Gregory knelt in the sand, pulling a small box from his pocket. Marry me? He asked simply. Be my wife, my partner in everything, the mother of my children, my companion for life. Tears streamed down Emily's face as she looked at the simple yet elegant ring. Yes, she whispered. Yes, yes. 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her passionately as the sun set, painting the sky gold. I love you more than I ever thought possible, Gregory said when they parted. I love you too. Thank you for valuing me when I didn't even value myself. Thank you for teaching me to love again. They returned to New York City engaged and began planning their wedding. It would be a simple ceremony with only their closest loved ones. Hannah confirmed her attendance, as did Jack, Mrs. Anderson, and all the staff who had become family. "And your parents?" Gregory asked one day. "Do you want to invite them?" Emily was silent for a moment. "I don't know. Part of me wants them to see how happy I've become despite their rejection, but another part doesn't want to risk them ruining our day. It's your decision. Whatever you choose, I'll stand by you." Emily decided to send a simple invitation, without expectations. To her surprise, she received a response from her mother a few days later. The letter was brief. "Emily, we heard about your engagement. We don't know if we deserve to be at your wedding after what we did, but we'd love to be there. We're proud of the woman you've become. With love, Catherine and Richard." "They want to come," Emily said to Gregory, showing him the letter. "How do you feel about that?" "Confused. Part of me is still hurt, but another part wants to believe they've changed." "Would you like me to invite them for a talk before the wedding? That way you can see if they've really changed." It was a wise suggestion. Emily agreed, and a week later her parents were back at the mansion, but this time as guests. The difference was noticeable. Richard looked thinner, with dark circles under his eyes that suggested sleepless nights. Catherine was visibly nervous, wringing her hands as she waited in the living room. "Emily," Catherine said when her daughter appeared, "you look beautiful." "Thank you," Emily replied, keeping some distance. "We wanted to apologize," Richard said abruptly, "for what we did. It was unforgivable." "Why now?" Emily asked. "Why not back then?" "Because we were cowards," Catherine admitted, tears in her eyes. "We were desperate, and instead of protecting our daughter, we sacrificed you." "I joined a support group for gambling addicts," Richard added. "I've been 8 months without betting. I got a job at an auto repair shop. It's not much, but it's honest." "And I went back to working as a cleaner," Catherine said. "We're trying to rebuild our lives." Emily looked at her parents, seeing different people from the ones who had rejected her 2 years earlier. There was genuine remorse in their eyes, but also a humility she'd never seen before. "We don't expect forgiveness," Richard continued. "We just wanted you to know we're trying to be better people. And that we've always loved you," Catherine added. "Even when we did that terrible thing, deep down, we knew we were wrong." Gregory, who had remained silent, finally spoke. "What matters is Emily's happiness. If you've really changed and want to be part of her life again, you'll have to prove you deserve that chance." "How?" Richard asked. "By being real parents this time," Gregory replied. "Supporting her decisions, respecting her choices, being there when she needs you." "We'll do anything," Catherine promised. Emily's heart tightened. She saw sincerity in her parents, but she also knew rebuilding trust would take time. "You can come to the wedding," she finally decided. "But I want you to understand, you're not my parents in the traditional sense anymore. You're people who are part of my past and who maybe can be part of my future. But that will depend on how you act from now on." "We understand," Richard said, "and we're grateful for the opportunity." After her parents left, Gregory hugged Emily. "You were very mature," he said. "You didn't have to forgive them." "I haven't completely forgiven them yet," she admitted. "But I want to give them a chance to prove they've changed. If it doesn't work out, at least I'll know I tried." The wedding took place on a sunny spring morning. The ceremony was held in the mansion's garden among the rose bushes Jack had tended with such care. Hannah arrived radiant, wearing a light blue dress that brought out her eyes. "You look beautiful," she told Emily, who wore a simple yet elegant wedding dress she had made herself. "Thank you. I'm nervous." "That's natural." "But look at Gregory." Hannah pointed to the groom who waited at the makeshift altar. "See how he's looking at you." Emily followed Hannah's gaze and saw Gregory. His eyes shone with emotion, and a wide smile spread across his face. All her nervousness melted away. The ceremony was simple but moving. When it came time for the vows, both spoke from the heart. "Emily," said Gregory, holding her hands, "you came into my life when I least expected it and changed everything. You taught me that love can arise from the most unlikely situations, that two people can complete each other in ways they never imagined possible. I promise to love you, respect you, and cherish you every day of my life." "Gregory," Emily replied, her voice trembling. "You reminded me of my own worth when I had forgotten it. You showed me that the past doesn't define the future, that there's always hope for those brave enough to start over. I promise to be your faithful companion, your partner in every dream, and to love you with all the strength of my heart." When they were declared husband and wife, all the guests applauded with emotion. Jack, who had insisted on being there despite his recovery, openly wept. "I knew it," he murmured to Mrs. Anderson. "From the very first day, I knew they were made for each other." The reception was intimate but joyful. Hannah gave a heartfelt speech about how happy she was to see Gregory fulfilled. Mrs. Anderson toasted the couple with tears of joy. Even Emily's parents, who had remained quiet throughout the ceremony, seemed genuinely happy for their daughter. "Thank you for giving us this chance," Catherine said to Emily at the end of the party. "Make the most of it," Emily replied. "It's the only one you'll get." Gregory and Emily honeymooned at a farm in rural Pennsylvania, where they spent 2 weeks away from everything and everyone, simply enjoying each other's company and planning their future. "Do you want children?" Gregory asked one lazy afternoon. "I do," Emily answered, nestling into his arms. "How many would you like?" "As many as come. Our home is big enough for a large family. And if we can't have biological children, then we'll adopt. Like Hannah was adopted by me, like you were adopted by my heart. Love has nothing to do with genes." When they returned from their honeymoon, a surprise awaited them. Hannah had decided to move back to New York City for good. "I missed it too much," she explained, "and I want to be nearby when the nieces and nephews arrive." "Nieces and nephews?" Emily laughed. "You're awfully confident." "I know you two. It won't take long to fill this house with children." Hannah was right. A year after the wedding, Emily discovered she was pregnant. Gregory's joy was contagious. "We're going to be parents," he said, spinning Emily in the air. "I can hardly believe it." "Neither can I," she laughed. "It still feels like a dream." The pregnancy went smoothly. Gregory became even more protective and affectionate, if that was possible. Hannah dedicated herself to organizing the nursery, and even Jack suggested planting a special tree to mark the baby's birth. "It's going to be a boy," Mrs. Anderson predicted, studying Emily's belly. "How can you be so sure?" Emily asked, laughing. "A woman's intuition, and he'll look just like his father." Jack was right too. Ethan Parker was born on an autumn morning, weighing 7 pounds and 7 ounces, with his father's dark eyes and his mother's sweet smile. "He's perfect," Gregory whispered, holding his son for the first time. "Thank you for giving me the most precious gift in the world." "Thank you for giving me a real family," Emily replied. When they left the hospital, a crowd awaited them at the mansion. Hannah had organized a surprise reception to welcome the baby. All the staff was there, as well as Emily's parents, who had shown genuine change over the months. "My grandson," Catherine said tearfully, gazing at Ethan. "He's as beautiful as his mother." "And as strong as his father," Richard added. Emily let them hold the baby, noticing they truly seemed to have become better people. There was still caution on her part, but there was also hope. The first few months with Ethan were challenging but wonderful. Gregory proved to be a devoted father, waking up in the middle of the night to help with feedings and diaper changes. "I never thought I'd be this happy," Emily said during one of those late nights, watching Gregory rock their son. "Neither did I. Sometimes I'm afraid I'll wake up and find out this was all a dream. It's not a dream. This is our reality, our family." When Ethan turned 6 months old, Emily went back to work part-time at Gregory's company. She had become a capable executive, overseeing the company's new social projects. "The Hope Foundation is currently helping 50 families," she reported during a meeting. "And we have a waiting list for the vocational training courses." "Excellent work," Gregory praised. "You've exceeded all expectations." The Hope Foundation had been their shared dream come true. It offered professional training, business guidance, and psychological support for people in vulnerable situations. Emily was the executive director, using her personal experience to help those in need. "I want our daughter to grow up knowing she can make a difference in the world," Emily told Gregory. "Our daughter?" "I'm pregnant again," she announced with a smile. "Really?" Gregory picked her up, beaming. "When did you find out?" "This morning. I'm still processing it. Ethan's going to have a little sister, or a little brother. We don't know yet. It doesn't matter. They'll be perfect, just like him. Hannah was thrilled by the news. 2 nieces and nephews, she exclaimed. This house is going to be even livelier. What about you? Emily asked. Don't you think about getting married, having kids? Maybe one day. For now, I'm happy being your doting aunt. 9 months later, Sophie Parker was born, a red-haired, green-eyed girl who charmed everyone from the start. Where did this hair color come from? Gregory asked in awe. My maternal grandmother was a redhead, Emily explained. Mom always mentioned that. She's going to be a little darling, Hannah predicted, already completely smitten with her niece. With 2 young children, the house was full of life and activity. Ethan, now walking, loved following his little sister everywhere. Sophie was a calm baby who smiled easily and slept well. Our family is complete, Gregory said one night, watching their 2 children sleep in their cribs. For now, Emily teased. For now? Who knows, maybe 1 or 2 more. Emily, Gregory laughed, let's take it slow. Life continued harmoniously in the following years. Ethan grew up curious and intelligent, always asking questions about everything. Sophie turned out to be a sweet but determined girl who knew exactly what she wanted. She's going to be a businesswoman like her father, Jack predicted, watching 3-year-old Sophie meticulously organize her toys. Or a seamstress like her mother, Mrs. Anderson suggested. Look how she loves playing with fabrics. She'll be whatever she wants to be, Emily said. The important thing is that she's happy. When Ethan turned 5 and Sophie 3, Gregory and Emily decided to renew their wedding vows in a larger ceremony to celebrate 5 years of marriage and include their children in the celebration. Why do you want to do this? Hannah asked curiously. Because we want to reaffirm our commitment in front of our children, Gregory explained. We want them to see that true love exists and that it's worth fighting for. The ceremony was emotional. Ethan and Sophie participated as ring bearers, carrying the rings with all seriousness. This time, in addition to close family, dozens of people whose lives had been touched by the Hope Foundation were present. Gregory and Emily, the officiant said, are proof that love can transform any situation, no matter how difficult it may seem. In their renewed vows, they both spoke about the journey they had taken together. 5 years ago, said Emily, I was a lost young woman, rejected by my own family with no hope for the future. Today I'm a mother, a wife, a businesswoman, and most importantly, I'm happy. All thanks to the man by my side, who saw value in me when even I couldn't see it. Emily taught me that true wealth isn't in money, but in shared love, said Gregory. She filled the empty spaces in my life and gave me the family I always dreamed of. Our children are proof that love builds miracles. After the ceremony, a grand celebration was held in the company's event hall. Employees, beneficiaries of the foundation, friends and family mingled in a celebration of life and love. Mom, said Ethan, tugging at Emily's dress, why is everyone crying if it's a party? Tears of joy, my love, Emily explained. Sometimes we cry when we're too happy. Like when Dad told me I was getting a little sister. Exactly like that. During the party, Emily's parents approached the couple. We'd like to talk to you, Richard said timidly. They stepped aside to a more private corner. We wanted to thank you for giving us the chance to know our grandchildren, said Catherine, emotional, and to apologize again for what we did. We've already talked about this, Emily replied. What matters is that you've changed. We truly have, Richard confirmed, and we want you to know how proud we are of the woman you've become, the family you've built, and the good you do through the foundation. Thank you, Emily said, hugging her parents. That means a lot to hear. In the years that followed, the Parker family continued to grow, not just in number but in love and accomplishments. Ethan became a responsible and caring boy, always protecting his younger sister. Sophie developed a strong, independent personality, but kept her natural sweetness. I want to be a doctor, Sophie announced at 5 years old. Why? Gregory asked. To help people like you do. Emily and Gregory exchanged a proud glance, happy to be raising children who understood the importance of helping others. The Hope Foundation expanded significantly, opening branches in other cities and helping thousands of families. Emily became a recognized speaker, sharing her story of overcoming adversity at corporate and social events. "Your journey inspires so many people," Hannah remarked, after one of Emily's particularly moving speeches. "I hope so. If my story can give hope to someone going through hardships, then it's worth sharing." Hannah, in turn, had found her calling working at the foundation as an educational coordinator. She developed innovative programs and found fulfillment in seeing the progress of the beneficiaries. "I've found my purpose," she told Gregory, "just like you found yours when you met Emily." "We've all found our place," Gregory agreed. "That's what family is, people who complete and support each other." On their 10th wedding anniversary, Gregory planned a special surprise for Emily. He organized a party, gathering everyone who had been important in their journey. "This wasn't necessary," Emily protested when she saw the scale of the celebration. "Yes, it was," Gregory replied. "I want the whole world to know how much I love my wife and how she transformed my life." Throughout the party, many people spoke about the impact Gregory and Emily had on their lives. Foundation beneficiaries, employees, friends, all had stories of gratitude to share. "You saved my family," said a woman who had participated in the foundation's early programs. "Today I have my own sewing shop thanks to the support I received." "Your story gave me the courage to start over after a difficult divorce," shared another person. "If Emily could overcome her parents' rejection and build a happy life, I can overcome my problems too." At the end of the party, when everyone had left, Gregory and Emily were alone in the garden where it had all begun. 10 years, Emily murmured. "It feels like yesterday, and a lifetime all at once." "Do you know what I'm most proud of?" Gregory asked. "What?" "That you never lost your essence. You're still the same kind, determined person I met, just with all the confidence you always deserved. And you're still the man who saw value in me when I couldn't see it myself. The man who taught me we deserve to be loved exactly as we are." They kissed under the moonlight, surrounded by the same rose bushes where they had first declared their love. "Do you know what I want for the next 10 years?" Emily asked. "What?" "More of the same. More love, more family, more chances to help others, more moments like this." "Perfect," Gregory agreed, "because that's exactly what I want too." A few years later, when Ethan was 12 and Sophie was 10, the Parker family received news that brought even more joy to their lives. Emily was pregnant again. "At 40, Hannah teased. "Do you two ever get tired?" "Never," Emily laughed. "This house has always had room for more love." "And this time, I hope it's twins," Sophie said. "I want lots of siblings." "Sophie!" Gregory and Emily protested in unison, making everyone laugh. Their third child, Peter, was born healthy and completed the family's happiness. Ethan and Sophie proved to be exemplary older siblings, always helping with the baby and showing unconditional love for their little brother. "Our family is truly complete now," Gregory said, watching the 3 children play in the garden. "It is," Emily agreed. "And to think it all started with my parents' desperate act. Sometimes what seems like the worst thing that could happen turns out to be the beginning of the best chapter of our lives." "It's true. If my parents hadn't brought me to you, I'd never have discovered what I was capable of, never known true love, never had this wonderful family." In the years that followed, the Parker family's story continued to unfold with even happier chapters. Ethan excelled in his studies and showed an interest in engineering. Sophie held on to her dream of becoming a doctor and already had a natural talent for caring for others. Peter grew up surrounded by love and attention, developing a cheerful and affectionate personality. The Hope Foundation became one of the country's most respected NGOs, helping thousands of families transform their lives. Emily was recognized as one of the most influential social entrepreneurs of her generation. "Who would have thought that scared young woman would become such an inspiring leader?" remarked Mrs. Anderson, who at 70 remained active in managing the household. "She always had potential," Gregory replied. "She just needed the opportunity and support to flourish." Hannah finally found love and married a teacher she met during one of the foundation's projects. The wedding was held at the same mansion where it had all begun, with Ethan and Sophie as ring-bearers. "Now our family is really complete," Gregory joked during his speech at Hannah's wedding. "Dad," Sophie protested, now 15, "what if Aunt Hannah has kids?" "Then the family will be even more complete," Gregory laughed. And Hannah did have children, twins to everyone's delight, especially Sophie's, who loved that her prediction had come true, at least in part. The twins brought even more life and joy to the large family that had formed over the years. "5 grandchildren," sighed Jack, now over 80 but still active in the garden. "Who would have thought I'd live to see so much happiness in this house?" "You'll live to see much more," assured Peter, who had become the gardener's inseparable companion. Over the years, Gregory and Emily became proud grandparents when Ethan married and had children. Sophie pursued her dream and became a pediatrician, dedicating part of her time to the Foundation's projects. Peter grew up determined to follow in his parents' footsteps in business. 40 years of marriage, said Emily during their Ruby anniversary celebration. "Who would have thought that scared young girl would make it this far?" "I knew," replied Gregory. "From the first day I saw you, I knew you were special." "Liar," Emily laughed. "You were just as lost as I was." "Maybe. But we found our way together. The 40th anniversary party brought together 4 generations of the family. Children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, all celebrating the love that had begun under such unlikely circumstances and blossomed into a story of success and happiness." "Grandma?" asked one of the great-granddaughters. "How did Grandpa know you'd be happy forever?" Emily looked at Gregory, his hair now completely white, but his eyes still shining with the same love as always. "He didn't know, sweetheart," she answered. "No one does. True love is a bet we make every day, choosing to love and be loved even when it's hard." "And did you always choose to love each other?" "Always," Gregory confirmed. "Even on the hard days, we always chose love." That night, after everyone had left, Gregory and Emily walked through the garden where it had all begun. "Do you know what I'm proudest of?" Emily asked. "What?" "That we broke the cycle. Our children never doubted they were loved, never felt rejected, always knew their worth." "It's the greatest gift we could have given them," Gregory agreed. "And they're passing it on to their children. The love we built will echo for generations." They stopped at the same bench where they'd confessed their love decades earlier. The rose bushes, now tended by Peter, still bloomed just as vibrantly. "If you could go back in time," Gregory asked, "and choose a different life, would you change anything?" Emily thought for a moment, gazing at the illuminated mansion where her family slept peacefully. "I wouldn't change a thing," she finally answered. "Not even the pain at the beginning, because it brought me to you, to this life, to this happiness." "I wouldn't change anything either," Gregory agreed. "Every tear, every hardship, every moment of doubt was worth it to get us here." They embraced under the starry sky, 2 elders who had built a love that withstood time and adversity. Around them, the family they'd created slept soundly, wrapped in the love that radiated from every corner of that house. "Thank you," Emily whispered. "For what?" "For valuing me when I didn't value myself. For seeing in me what I couldn't see. For teaching me we deserve to be loved." "Thank you," Gregory replied. "For making the impossible possible. For turning a lonely man into a father, grandfather, great-grandfather. For giving my life meaning." They walked back inside hand in hand, knowing their love story had become family legend, proof that true love can rise from the unlikeliest beginnings and grow into something eternal. The next morning, they found a letter Hannah had left for them. It was a photo album documenting their family's journey from Emily's first day at the mansion to the celebration the night before. "To the parents I chose and who chose me," Emily read the dedication aloud. "Thank you for teaching me that family isn't just about blood but about choice. That love isn't just a feeling, but a daily decision. You are proof that happy endings exist for those brave enough to fight for them." Gregory and Emily spent the morning flipping through the album, reliving every important moment of their lives together. They saw themselves young and in love, watched their children grow, witnessed their family expand, and saw themselves aging together with dignity and love. "What a beautiful story we've built," Emily murmured. "The most beautiful of all," Gregory agreed. "And it's not over yet." And indeed it wasn't. There were still many pages left to write, many grandchildren and great-grandchildren to love, many social projects to develop, many moments of happiness to share. The story of the poor girl given to a wealthy man had become the story of a love that transformed not just two lives, but entire generations. It was proof that what sometimes seems like an end can, in fact, be the most beautiful beginning. The end of the story. Now tell us what you thought of this story and where you're watching from. If you have something to share with us, leave your heartfelt words in the comments. Do you believe true love can arise from the most unlikely circumstances? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining us.